Hi, I'm Callie Brahauer with a very special edition of In Your Neighborhood. Elections will be here before you know it, and there's a very tight race for U.S. Senator from Iowa between Bruce Braley and Joni Ernst. In an effort to gather more votes, Bruce Braley is here hosting a rally at the University of Iowa. A lot of people turned out to see it, and here we have the exclusive. There might even be a special guest to check out. So why is voting important to you?
Voting is actually very important because it decides various factors. Your vote does matter in this election, and it's very important in this election because it decides whether you have Bruce Braley or Joni Ernst as your Senate representative.
And what made you decide to volunteer for this?
Well, I think this is such a critical election. It's not just all of the things that they talked about today, but the big, huge chance that there's going to be more Supreme Court justices, and we need someone on there that votes more for the individual rather than it's been all towards corporate the last few decisions, and I just think that that's wrong.
It seems like there's a particular reach out to youth. Does that seem to be something the organization's focusing on, and how are they doing it?
Yes, they are, and they're doing it by field, getting people out to vote, and also they're focusing on issues like the student loans and Pell Grants and keeping the Department of Education and also the minimum wage, which is very important to us, raising it to 1010.
Good to see y'all. Everybody doing okay? We call this the Zach and Dave show, by the way. Listen, every time I'm with Zach Wahls, I remind him I don't want to do this job forever, so he just needs to wait a little while longer before he decides that he's going to run for an office like this. Zach's pretty cool. All right, you're going to get the main act pretty soon, but this is pretty serious stuff that we're talking about here, folks. We're talking about a heck of a lot of money coming in from the outside in these races. And by the way, we just found out last night that the National Republican Campaign Committee is putting in $1 million against me the last 2 weeks. Think about that. It's obscene, all that money from the outside coming in. It is obscene. But we know why they're doing it. I'm going to get to the fight back part at the end, okay? Don't worry about that. I'm going to get there. But listen, they know, they understand, the other side gets it. They know that they stand for all the wrong things, especially in Iowa, especially in my congressional district. They understand. That's the problem. They get it. And that's why they're putting all this money in, negative money against Bruce Braley, against me, against Democrats up and down the ticket. Because they know, folks, that we, unlike our opponents, stand for good jobs, good pay, good opportunities here in America, and making sure that folks have the opportunities so they can pull themselves up and get into that middle class the way I did, the way Bruce did, the way Americans want to do. That's why they're going against us, folks. They know the truth. They understand it. They know that unlike our opponents, we want to make sure that there are no more tax loopholes that incentivize those companies to take those jobs overseas, folks. We got to stop that. They know that unlike our opponents, we want to have an increase in the minimum wage so that no one working 40 hours a week is living in poverty. No one. And they know that everyone in America, men and women alike, ought to be paid the very same for the very same work that they do, folks. We got to make sure that women are paid the same as men. And look, they also know. They know that we're right on the issues when it comes to student loans and those Pell Grants and those opportunities that I was able to take advantage of when I was growing up because I came from poverty myself. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like not to be in the middle class and to work to get into the middle class. And that's really what this is all about, folks. They know that we stand for the right issues, and that's why they're making it as ugly as possible. But here's the deal. I don't know if any of you remember this. Some do. But a year ago, the Koch brothers came to Coralville, and they tried to control the local elections in Coralville. But guess what? The people of Coralville stood up to the Koch brothers. They stood up to those outside influence folks. They beat the Koch brothers in Coralville. If they can beat them there, we can beat them in Iowa City. We can beat them at the University of Iowa. We can beat them in Johnson County. We can beat them in Iowa, and we can beat them across America. And with your help, we're going to do it. Get out there, vote between now and November 4th, and get everyone else you know to vote for Democrats up and down the ticket. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Iowa's next Senator, Bruce Braley.
Wow. On Iowa, and welcome to the second Iowa Votes rally at the University of Iowa in 2 days. You all know that Iowans are voting now, and we only have 14 voting days left to make it happen, and I'm counting on you to be there with me every step of the way. So I want to begin by thanking Jennifer De La Cruz for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to thank Bruce Teague for that amazing national anthem. It's okay to clap. You can clap. I want to thank Carter Bell, who's the president of the University of Iowa Democrats, for her remarks. Zach Wahls, who set the world on fire by speaking out about marriage equality. I want to thank our special ASL interpreter, Joan Locke. And of course, I want to thank my dear friend who's about to win his 5th term as the congressman for the 2nd District of Iowa, Dave Loebsack. Dave. But I also want to talk about a very special guest, an inspirational woman who is known throughout the state of Iowa. I'm talking about my mom, Marcia Braley, who's standing right there. Marcia. And I also want to introduce another very special Iowa woman who once scored 79 points in a high school basketball game. My sister Brenda is in the house with us. Thank you. And there are also 2 very special Iowa teachers here with us today. And that's my aunt and uncle from Davenport, Scott and Jeannie Sherwood. Thank you for being here with us. Oh, and then there's another very special guest who's joining us today. Michelle Obama, the First Lady of the United States of America. So, let's get this rally started. You know, I had the opportunity to live and study and work here in Iowa City for 3 years. And a lot of you who had an opportunity to go to college know that my 3 years in Iowa City were the best of times and the worst of times. They were the best of times because I met some extraordinary people here who changed my life. And it was the worst of times because in my first year here in law school, I lost my father and his stepmother in 3 months. But I'll have one indelible memory of the week we buried my father. And we were at the cemetery near Ewart, Iowa, small little country cemetery, and a van pulled up, and someone got out and delivered some flowers from my law school classmates, whom I had just met in the August of that previous year. And it was an overwhelming moment in my life because it combined the best of times and the worst of times. And that's what Iowa values are all about, is people who are there for you when you need them to help you get through the tough times and pick yourself up. And that's what happened here in Iowa City. So I am here today because I learned that education is one of the most important things we can offer to Iowans. I learned that lesson because it was important in my family. And the First Lady of the United States is a passionate supporter of educational opportunities for all, and you're going to hear that from her when you get to hear her speak. But I learned that lesson growing up in Brooklyn, Iowa. My mom grew up in the Depression, and she got an opportunity to go to Iowa State Teachers College and graduated in 1948 with a 2-year teaching degree and started teaching. And that's when she met my dad, who had served in World War II on Iwo Jima, came home and was managing a grain elevator. They started a family. And my dad had a serious injury when he fell at the grain elevator and was laid up for a long time and had to change his job. My mom decided to go back to school and get her 4-year teaching degree so she could go back into the classroom. And she drove over 20,000 miles to get it. She started back at Iowa State Teachers College because they changed the name to State College of Iowa, and was in one of the first graduating classes when it was called the University of Northern Iowa. She retired over 20 years ago, but she's still teaching, and I'm so proud of her because she taught me that every child matters and the education of every child matters. Thank you for that. And I also learned about the importance of education from my wife, Carolyn, who started her career as a preschool teacher and found out that preschool teachers barely make more than minimum wage, even though they have one of the most important jobs in the world. So when I came to law school, she enrolled at the University of Iowa and got a computer science degree. But then, as she got older, she ended up running for and serving on the Waterloo School Board, and because of that experience, decided she could make a bigger impact in the classroom, got her teaching degree and a master's in curriculum instruction, and is teaching today at West High School in Waterloo. And when we had our third debate, did any of you happen to see that up in Sioux City? I walked in and I saw my wife sitting there and was stunned because I didn't think she was going to be there after teaching all day. She drove 4 hours to Sioux City, was there for the debate, drove 4 hours back that same night, and was in her classroom at 7:30 the next morning. That's dedication, and that's why education matters. And I'm here today because I'm deeply concerned that the rising cost of college education and the huge debt that students take with them is preventing other people from having the same educational opportunities that I had when I was a student here. You know, I worked 10 jobs from the day I graduated high school to the day I graduated from law school. And I worked to get a college degree all year round, and the same thing with my law school degree. And students here at the University of Iowa are doing the same thing. But back when I was in college, you could work part-time, you could work full-time in the summer, you could get Pell Grants, you could get student loans, and when you graduated, you weren't crushed under the weight of student debt the way so many students are now. Here at the University of Iowa, 4,200 students get Pell Grants, and 10,000 get federally insured student loans. We need to make sure that those students and the students who are working part-time, which is most of the students here, or in work study, have the opportunity, and that's why we need to do everything possible we can to make college affordable and reduce student debt. And my promise to you is I will always fight to make college affordable for Iowa's students, no matter who you are, where you come from. You deserve to have your dreams come true the same way that I was able to growing up in Iowa. And that's why when Dave Loebsack and I got elected to Congress, one of the first things we did was expand Pell Grants. We cut interest rates on federally insured student loans in half. And I've introduced legislation to preserve tax credits and tax deductions for college tuition and expenses. And I happen to think that if you get out of college with a massive amount of student loan debt and you get an opportunity to refinance it at a better rate, you should be able to do that. And that's why I want to put your needs ahead of the needs of Wall Street bankers. But on college affordability, the difference between Joni Ernst and me could not be greater, because she wants to privatize student loans, get the federal government out of the student loan business, and she wants to eliminate the Department of Education, which oversees Pell Grants and work studies and student loans. So, sound bites have consequences, and they have consequences for Iowa college students. 230,000 currently receive federally insured student loans. What's going to happen to them? They're going to see their interest rates skyrocket in the private market, as high as 12 or 16 or 18%. So what does that mean to a college student who's got $35,000 worth of student loan debt when they leave? It means they'll be paying an additional $20,000 just in additional interest at those higher loan rates, and I think that's wrong. And one of the things that we know is that when you leave with student loan debt, it's going to take you longer to buy things and circulate money in a community and give other people economic opportunities, because you're spending your hard-earned money when you're having to pay so much off the student loan debt. I think we need to keep Wall Street bankers' hands out of your pockets. Senator Ernst wants to put them back in your pockets. I think that's wrong. That's why we got the middlemen out of student loans in the first place, to keep student interest rates down. But about a year ago at a private breakfast, Senator Ernst said something that was very revealing about her philosophy toward protecting Iowans. She admitted that her policies, and these are her words, are going to be very painful, and we know it. You know, inflicting pain doesn't put Iowa first, and it doesn't put you first. So my question for Senator Ernst is, why don't you inflict a little pain on the secret donors who are helping the Koch brothers and their billionaire friends attack me? They have spent over $20 million attacking me, and they don't need a senator, you do. They think that their secret money matters more than your vote. I say they're wrong, and we have 14 days to prove them wrong. So if you believe, like me, that raising the minimum wage and giving 300,000 Iowans a pay raise is a priority, especially since 180,000 of them are women, and almost 150,000 are over the age of 30, and 100,000 have children. And if you agree with me that somebody working full-time in a minimum wage job making $15,000 a year is ridiculous, then I need your help over these next 14 days. And if you agree with me that a woman in Iowa should have the right to make her own health care decisions without interference from the government, I need your help in the next 14 days. And if you agree with me that college affordability should be about helping students, not putting $25,000 more of debt on their backs, I need your help over the next 14 days. You know, you can leave here after you're inspired by the First Lady of the United States, and you can go to the old Capitol Mall and vote right now today. But I need you to do more. I need you to keep making phone calls. I need you to keep knocking on doors. I need you to keep helping get these absentee ballots in. And I need you to talk to your friends, your families, your coworkers, and tell them this election matters. Because Iowa's next senator will serve for 6 years. And you need a senator who's going to be fighting for you every day. So, I know why you're here. I mean, let's be honest. I'm here because I can't wait to hear the First Lady of the United States speak. So, rather than give you some long introduction about how wonderful she is, you know that already, I want to share just 4 brief Iowa moments involving the First Lady and the President that I think say a lot about who they are and what they've meant to this country. The first moment is one I will never forget. You probably remember it. It was the night before the election in 2012, November 5th. And I was standing there on the stage, and I saw this with my own eyes. I saw the other Bruce Springsteen, grab the hand of the First Lady of the United States and skip down the stage with her. What a memory. The other memory was one I got to share with my mom, proud graduate of the University of Northern Iowa, when the First Lady of the United States gave the commencement address at UNI. It was on May 7th of 2011, and what I remember so much about her remarks was how she inspired those students to always, always remember their Iowa values, the ones we've been talking about today. The belief that you are only as good as the community you live in and the people that you commit to helping every day. And that's why those students walked out of there inspired to go out and make the world a better place. The First Lady was not at this event, but I will never forget it either. It was at Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids. There was a candidate forum for the 2008 Iowa caucuses. It was August 18th of 2007, and I was there, and I got a note inviting me to meet with a young senator from Illinois who is there to speak to the crowd. And I walked into an RV, and I sat down with Senator Obama, and we were having a great conversation when his cell phone went off. And this was in the clamshell days for some of you younger people here today. And he looked at his phone and he said, "I'm sorry, Bruce, I really need to take this call." And I said, "You go right ahead." And I was sitting right across from him, so I was kind of eavesdropping. And he got a big smile on his face, and he kept, And after about 3 or 4 minutes, he said goodbye, said, "I love you," on the phone. And he said, "I'm really sorry, man. That was my daughter, Malia. She's going to her first Beyonce concert tonight, and she couldn't wait to tell me about it." And my daughter, Lisa, saw Destiny's Child at McElroy Auditorium in Waterloo when she was in 8th grade, and the band was just taking off. And I looked at him, and I pulled out my cell phone and opened it up, and I showed him that when I first ran for Congress, I wanted to remind myself what my most important job was. And so on the home screen of my cell phone, I put the words, "Be a good dad." And I said to him, "Senator, I don't ever want you to apologize to anyone for taking the time to talk to one of your children." And I hope he followed that advice. The last moment that I'm going to share with you is deeply personal and emotional to me. It was the first time in the 2012 campaign that the First Lady and the President had been united to campaign together, and it happened in Dubuque, Iowa on August 15th of 2012. And the First Lady introduced the President, and she was introduced at that rally by a brave young woman named Jenny Connolly. Now, the first time I met Jenny Connolly was after my staff and I had helped her husband Andrew, a veteran of the Iraq War, get an adaptability grant after he became paralyzed from the chest down. And it was through the Veterans Administration. And we stopped by their house to get a chance to meet them and talk about what this is going to mean to their family. And as we walked into their kitchen in Dubuque, I saw Andrew, who was just beaming, he was so happy, Jenny, and Jenny was holding her son Brody in her arms, and what I noticed was he was attached to a ventilator and was profoundly disabled. And as we went around and visited about what this grant was going to mean to this brave young family, I asked Jenny if she would mind sharing what that meant to her. And she broke into tears. And I felt really bad. And then she went on to say how this grant that you helped pay for with your tax dollars was going to give them the opportunity to know that Brody, their son, was going to be taken care of no matter what happened to Andrew. And so Andrew was all about paying it forward, and I introduced a bill in his name, the Andrew Connolly Veterans Housing Act, because this program that he benefited from was expiring. And the bill I introduced extended it for 10 more years, and he came out and testified, and Jenny and Brody came with him. And by the time he finished telling his story, you could have heard a pin drop in the Veterans Affairs hearing room. Because of my relationship with Republicans on that committee who were in the majority at that time, the Andrew Connolly Veterans Housing Act went to the floor with a package of veterans bills, passed in the House, passed in the Senate, and President Obama signed it into law shortly before Jenny introduced Michelle Obama, and about a year to the day after Andrew Connolly died. Now, to me, that story is what public service should be all about. Helping people who need your help and using their stories to pass better public policy. So that's why we're here, and that's what's at stake in the next 14 days. So it's time for us to stop waiting and hear from the First Lady of the United States of America. Please give a warm on Iowa welcome to Michelle Obama, the First Lady of the United States.
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow, that was good stuff right there. That was good stuff. I am thrilled to be here today to support the next senator from Iowa, our friend Bruce Braley. Let's give it up for Bruce. Now, let me say that one more time. Bruce Braley. Now, may remember the last time I was here. I got it wrong a couple of times, but I sort of laughed to myself because I thought, well, people should follow me home because talk to Malia and Sasha, and I never call them the right names. It's like, who are you? I call Barack, Bo. It never works out really well. So, but although I may have slipped up on Bruce's name a couple of times, what I know I got right are Bruce's values. And that's really what matters in these elections. You know, you can hear from his stories, his life story, you know his heart is where it needs to be. You know this is a man of excellent character. You know that he's someone who understands family. You know he's someone who's gonna commit to the people of this state every single day. And that's why I'm back in Iowa today, because I know where Bruce comes from. I know what he stands for. And I have seen politicians come and go, candidates come and go. And what matters is who they are as people. I know that Bruce is going to fight for your families every single day in the Senate. As he told you, Bruce grew up a lot like I did. A working class family. His mom was a teacher. His father was a Marine Corps vet. And like a lot of you here today, as he said, Bruce had to work his way through college, like many of us. Waited tables, worked a grain elevator, built bridges with a county roads department. So make no mistake about it, Bruce understands what families here in Iowa are going through because he's lived it. That's why he fought so hard to raise the minimum wage, because he understands that folks who work 40 or 50 hours a week shouldn't have to live in poverty in the wealthiest nation on the planet. That's why Bruce believes that after a lifetime of hard work, folks should be able to retire with dignity and security. That's why he's worked so hard to protect Social Security and Medicare. And of course, when it comes to helping young people afford college, you heard him talk. You all have a true champion in Bruce Braley. He has worked tirelessly to expand Pell Grants, to keep interest rates low for student loans, help graduates refinance their loans at a lower rate. And I know there are a lot of students here, right? You know how that feels. You know how important that is. And finally, when it comes to women's health, Bruce fought hard to make sure that insurance companies cover the costs of things like birth control. And he believes that politicians shouldn't be butting into the private health decisions made by women and their doctors. We can handle that. So let's be clear. If you all want a senator who shares your values and will stand up for you and your families out in Washington, then you need to elect Bruce Braley to the U.S. Senate. We got to get this done. We can do this here. And it's going to happen because of you all here. I also want to take a moment just to acknowledge Dave Loebsack as well. He's been a dear friend. You're a congressman. Dave, I love you. And Jeannie, you guys are awesome. Like Bruce, Dave really gets it as well. He was raised by a single mother who struggled to make ends meet. And during his time in Congress, Dave has worked tirelessly to create good manufacturing jobs here, to support our seniors, to give our kids the opportunities that he had to build a better life for himself. He wants our young people to have those same opportunities. So when you vote for Bruce, I want you all in the 2nd District to be sure to vote for Dave Loebsack as well. We're going to get him back in. Well, and of course, I want to thank all of you. This is a great crowd, great turnout. You guys are going to do this for Bruce. I'm excited to be back again because I love Iowa. I do. I do. I do. It feels like home in so many ways. And I said this when I was in Des Moines, but it's worth repeating. I will never forget how you all embraced me and my family when we first came to campaign in 2007. I'll never forget how you invited us into your homes and onto your campuses and marched with us in the Harkin steak fry and the Jefferson Jackson dinner. But most of all, I'll never forget how you showed us what politics is like at its very best. When people take the time to really get to know their candidates and to engage in the issues that are at stake. And that's really why I wanted to come to Iowa City today to talk with all of you, to many of our young people, also to those young at heart. I know we have a few people here too. But I want to spend a little more time talking to young people, because this election is really about you guys. It really is. It's about your hopes and your dreams and the world that you want to pass on to your kids and your grandkids. But I know that despite that fundamental truth, I know that too many young people feel that elections just don't matter, that politics just really doesn't make a difference. So they think, why bother to show up? Why bother to vote? Does anybody here know anybody like that? Yeah. So I want you to know that if there's anybody here who feels that way, or you know someone who feels this way, I just want to give you some facts. I mean, you heard from Bruce. He made some excellent points about what this election can mean for your education. But I want you to think about all the change that we've made these past 6 years under President Barack Obama. And I think a brief history lesson is important, because so many of you might be too young to really remember what things were like back in 2008. Yeah, some of you guys were babies back then. But in 2008, when Barack first took office, our economy was literally on the brink of collapse. Wall Street banks were folding. Now, businesses were losing 800,000 jobs every single month. Every month. Folks on TV and in the papers were worried about whether we were headed for another Great Depression. And this wasn't talk, this was a real possibility. Things were a mess. And this is what was handed to Barack when he set foot in the Oval Office, his first day as President of the United States. And that's just what was going on in the economy. Now I want you to think about how things look today. Just 6 years later, 6 years worth of work. By almost every economic measure, we are better off today than when Barack took office. That's a fact. Our businesses have created more than 10 million new jobs since 2010. This is the longest uninterrupted run of private sector job growth in our nation's history. The unemployment rate for young people is down from a high of 10.6% in 2009 to 6.2% today. More young people are graduating from college than ever before. I love that. As you heard from Bruce, we've expanded financial aid, and for millions of students, we'll be capping federal student loan payments at no more than 10% of your income. Yeah. Look, I wish I had that when I was your age. I tell this story all the time. Barack and I, our loan debt for our education was higher than our mortgage. Yeah. Because as Bruce understands, we do this because he knows you shouldn't have to be buried in debt like we were when you're just getting started in life. So these things are important. Under the Affordable Care Act, millions of young people have health care because, and you all know this, You can stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26 years old. So when you graduate from school, if you can't find a job right away, or if you want to do something entrepreneurial, if you want to take a risk, you won't be left out in the cold just praying that you don't get sick or hurt. That's what the Affordable Care Act means for you. And for the last 6 years, we've had a president who shares our most fundamental values, a president who ends hurtful policies like don't ask, don't tell, a president who truly believes that everyone in this country should have a chance to succeed no matter what they look like or how much money they have or who they love. So I could go on and on and on and on. But if anyone ever tells you that elections don't matter, I want you to tell them to look back at the last 6 years. Tell them about all those 2 elections, how they changed the course of history in this country. And tell them that the same is true this year, right here in Iowa. You have a chance. You see, in this election, you have an opportunity to vote for a senator who truly shares your values, someone who's going to fight to create good jobs, make sure those jobs pay a decent wage, someone who's going to build good schools, make college more affordable, someone who's going to fight for equal pay for women, and who will support our right as women to make our own decisions about our bodies and our health care. That's the kind of leader Bruce Braley will be, and that's why we need to do everything we can to elect them as the next senator from Iowa. We've got to get this done. Elections matter. They matter. They matter. And we know this won't be easy. It won't be. We know that there's too much money in politics. We know that special interests have way too much influence. But here's what I want my young people to understand, too. They had all that money and influence back in 2008 and 2012, and we still won those elections. We still won. You want to know why? We won because of so many people like you, young people like you all. For years, folks counted young people out. That was the conventional wisdom. That young people don't care, that young people aren't engaged and won't show up on election day. But boy, did y'all prove them wrong for Barack Obama. Man, our young people, boy, you all knocked on doors, you made calls, you used every kind of social media tool. You got it done. You got it done. And it's important for you to understand that your work inspired people across this country. You inspired other people to get to the polls and cast their votes. And what happened in 2008 and 2012 reminded us of a simple truth, that at the end of the day, the folks running those special interest groups, the folks who poured millions of dollars into those elections, they each have just one vote. And so do each of us. And those are the votes that decide elections in the United States of America. That's why Barack Obama is president right now. He's president because a whole bunch of folks who never voted before showed up to vote in 2008 and 2012. But here's what happened. A lot of people were shocked when Barack won. They were counting on folks like us to stay home. Barack won because record numbers of women and minorities and young people showed up. Yeah. But what happens in these midterm races is that too many of our people just tuned out. And that's what folks on the other side are counting on this year. Because as I remind people, when we stay home, they win. So they're assuming that we won't care. They're hoping that we won't be organized and energized. They're praying that we just sit back and only we can prove them wrong. Make no mistake about it, this race is going to be tight. We know that races like this can be won or lost by just a few thousand, even a few hundred votes. Just think about what happened in the 2012 presidential election here in Iowa. The outcome of that race was decided by about 46,000 votes. And while that might sound like a lot, when you break it down, that's just about 27 votes per precinct. I want young people to really hear that number. That's just 27 votes. That's why voting matters. 27 votes. So if we really get to work, just here in this room, think about how many precincts all of us could swing for Bruce Braley. Just think about it. Just think about the work can happen in this room. So young people, our young people, this election is on us. It's on us. Your future is on us. Our future is on us. We got to get this done. We can't wait around for anyone else to do this. We got to get people organized and energized, and we got to get them out to vote. And you can get started right now, today. We're going to be practical right now. You can start by voting early. More Iowans are voting earlier every year because it's the easiest way to make your voice heard. You can request your ballot by mail right here at this event, or you can go to vote.brucebraley.com. Young people, get your things out. You've got those things, and you press them really fast, and you get information. And then you can show some of the young at heart people how to do it, too. That's vote.brucebraley.com, or even better, you can vote early in person right now. Right now. Look at that, right now. Because from now until November 4th, every day is election day. And if you haven't registered yet, don't worry. You can register to vote and vote early at the same time. It couldn't be easier. So I want you all to vote as soon as you can. In fact, vote today. Vote today. Just get it done. Get it out of the way. Don't wait until tomorrow. Young people, or the next day, do it right after this event. And as Bruce said, if you live here in Johnson County, you can go right over to the old Capitol Mall at 201 South Clinton Street. Just check it off your list. That location is open Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And be sure to bring everyone you know along with you to vote. Bring your roommate. Bring your teammate. Bring folks from your fraternity, your sorority. Bring folks you met at the party last weekend. Or better yet, for the parents, those you met in the library studying. Yeah, those are really the people we're talking about. And be sure to sign up to volunteer, as Bruce said, because if everyone here today signs up to knock on doors or make calls for 3 hours, we knock doors, we knock doors, we knock doors, they need you knocking doors. If everybody here invests those 3 hours, then I'm confident that we will win this election. So for just 3 hours of your time, you will get 6 years of an outstanding senator who will carry on Tom Harkin's legacy. So don't wait another minute. Find an organizer with a commit card and volunteer. As Bruce said, the stakes this year simply could not be higher. Because if we don't get folks out to vote, if we don't elect leaders like Bruce Braley to the Senate, then we know exactly what will happen. We will see more folks interfering in women's private decisions about our health care. We'll see more opposition to immigration reform, to raising the minimum wage for hardworking folks. So I want to be very clear. And if you think people should get a decent paycheck for their work, a paycheck they can raise their families on, if you don't want women's bosses making decisions about their birth control, if you think women should get equal pay for equal work, if you think every young person in this country should have a chance to go to college and build a good life for themselves, then you need to step up. and get everyone you know to vote for Bruce Braley. You guys can do that. That's what's at stake in this election. It's the kind of country we want to leave for our kids and our grandkids. And as I said last time when I was here, those kids are counting on us to stand up for them. And we know kids like this all over the country. There are kids here just like this, who are working hard, doing their best under some incredible odds. There's a young woman who is one of our mentees. We have a wonderful mentorship program at the White House for young girls, and Rashima Melson is one of those mentees. Rashima's father was murdered when she was a baby. And for years, her family was homeless. There were days when she didn't even have clean clothes to wear to school. And this kid, she's beautiful and vibrant and bubbly. Rashima, despite all that she was going through, she still showed up every morning to school. She threw herself into every class, often waking up in the middle of the night to do her homework because that's the only time it was quiet in the homeless shelter where she lived. And by senior year, Rashima had earned herself a 4.0 GPA, and she graduated as the valedictorian of her class with a full scholarship to Georgetown University. That's where Rashima is right now. She is a Georgetown student. I'm so proud of her. And as I travel across this country, I meet so many kids like Rashima. Kids who wake up early and take the long route to school to avoid the gangs. Kids who juggle after-school jobs to support their families and stay up late to get their homework done. Kids who don't speak a word of English but who are fighting every day to realize their dream of a better life. These kids have every reason to give up. But they are so hungry to succeed and so desperate to lift themselves up. And that's why we're here today. Because those kids never give up, and neither will we. We will never give up on our kids, ever. Education is at the key to our success as a nation. And we have to invest everything we can in them. So between now and November, we need to be organized for them. We need to be inspired for them. We need to pour everything we have into this election so that they can have the opportunities they need to build the future they deserve. And if we all do that, if we all keep stepping up and bringing others along with us, then I know that we can keep on making that change we believe in. I know we can elect Bruce Braley as the next senator from Iowa. So we can get this done. I'm counting on you guys. Go vote. Sign up and volunteer. Get it done. We have 2 more weeks. We can make this happen. 27 votes. So find every person you know and shake them. I love you all. Let's get it done. Thank you. God bless.
University of Iowa?
I do.
And is this your first time seeing her?
I saw her across the street when I was in New York, but this is the first time actually touching her and speaking to her. It was great.
What's your favorite thing about her?
The way she carries herself and the way she fights for women and minorities. She's amazing. And she's not up there like with the adults. She comes down to like the kids and the teenagers. I love how she said, bring up those things, that you guys texted so fast. It was just, she's amazing. I love her.
Did you get a chance to hear the First Lady speak?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think of it?
Oh, I love Michelle. I can't help it, yeah. I just thought it was a really good speech. I was really glad and hoping we'd get more people to vote today and, get it. Because when people vote, we win. Everybody wins, actually. Democracy wins. Her speech was wonderful.
There are several volunteers out on campus that can go sign up with those people. They'll be around, floating around, and just go on the Bruce Braley's website. You can sign up and volunteer there. It's quick and simple. It's just calling and door knocking. It's really fun too.
And there's little time left, so it's crunch time.
Yeah.
With the race as tight as it is, and with the big election day coming soon, it's very important for many Iowans to go out there and cast their vote, just like Michelle Obama and Bruce Braley said. Thank you for watching. I'm Callie Brethauer, in your neighborhood, on your neighborhood network, PATV, Channel 18.